Hey everyone, and welcome back to episode 2 of Web Design with me, Wetsock. We're going to extend our knowledge on the first episode, which was pretty basic. What we were covering was declaring the document type, learning about tags, what sort of stuff goes in the head and what sort of stuff goes in the body tags, comments, headlines, and paragraphs. Incredibly simple. We kept it very, very basic, which is exactly what needs to be done in an introductory course. Um, so in this episode, we are going to be covering a little bit of CSS, so adding a little bit of flair, a little bit of color to it so that it's not so bland. We'll also be covering links and tables. So the colors and stuff like that are going to be stored, or we're going to store them in the head tag in a style tag. So it's probably good practice to always just close out your tags before writing your code so that you know that you've done it. Some IDEs, I think I left a link in the first episode to an IDE. Again, I can't remember now. But it can pre-close your tags for you. It can be very handy. It will do auto spacing. It will do your auto increments, like increments kind of going forward like that. So yeah, that can be quite handy if that seems to be your problem. You know what it is that you want to do. You always forget to close tags or add your indentations and that sort of stuff. It can help just resolve that. Preferably, I would say learning from this point of view where you have to remember it gets you in that good coding practice, so that if you ever have to do it on something like Notepad++ or any other IDE that may not facilitate the auto increments or auto tag closes, etc., you'll confidently be able to still jump into that and do whatever it is you need. If it auto closes it, it's just going to make you even faster. But without further ado, we're going to change the color of headline 1 first. And to do that, like I said, within the head tag, we will create a style tag, both open and close. And inside that, we're going to reference headline 1. And we're going to go color, which is in American English. And we will go red. And we will close it off with a semicolon. The semicolon is very important to always remember because that's going to close this particular command. And you can have multiple of these within your, so we could go font, for example, and add whatever it is we want there, and we'll close that off and add another one. So everything will go within the curly brackets to this, so we can alter many things as part of the headline 1 or whatever it is that we're editing. But for now, we're just going to do color because we're going to do CSS in a separate series where we dive really deep and really look at the aesthetics. We'll be importing other fonts and that sort of stuff so that we can really make it super creative and very professional. We'll also cover paragraph. Let's change the paragraph as well. Color, red, blue, semi. And we will also let's color the entire web page in, so the entire background. And for that, you will cover the body tag. So you're referencing the tag in this bit, and we will go background color, red, blue, green, maybe. It's probably going to look horrible, but that's fine. That's fine. We don't necessarily care about that. We've saved that, and now if we open it up, we now have a green background. That's very green. Red headlines that we made, headline 1 and headline 1. If we come back to our code, we can see that we put hello as a headline 1. So it's going to change all of the headline 1s. So you can individualize each one of these. So within this tag, you could put style, color, blue, and it'll change just this headline to blue. Um, again, that comes down to just how you want to set it all up. Typically, websites are going to be, in regards to the text, it's going to be all relatively the same. It's a very old school way to have a website looking like this, where it's very unusual, very bare, not super creative. You can tell when a website has had a lot of work done to it because it will look just very appealing. Whereas you'll find some of the older websites, typically where you're downloading software or games or something like that against the grain, you tend to find that those websites look very choppy and trashy, similar to this. In saying that, we are just learning the absolute basics. So now we'll change this to below is a fun link to click on. And now for our link, we're going to go this is going to be the opening tag for a link. Ref. And we'll go www. We'll do the whole thing. HTTPS. Yeah. Whack whack. Okay. www.google.com.au. Close that and we'll go click me a close tag. And we save the document and we come in and we should be able to refresh. And it's taken us to Google. So I'll slow that down just a little bit. So the A tag is going to be for a link. href, the HTML reference. So this is going to be to reference the website. We can add our full web address in there. You don't necessarily have to, because we could reference another file if we wanted to as well. So another page that would be stored on the web server or something like that. I mean, it doesn't have to be at the moment because it is just HTML. So it could just be another HTML document stored on my desktop, and I could just put that file name. It'll look in the root directory that this is stored in, which is the desktop. If it can't find that file, then it just won't open. You would have to reference that other file. So you have to reference the location as well. We closed out our opening tag, and this was what was going to be presented to the user on the HTML document. So it says click me. You could say anything. You could say click here, click now, click to follow, click to subscribe. It could say anything at all. And you can change the links. Don't necessarily have to, but we could go to YouTube and I could put my channel or copy, take the full link. That's the best thing to do. Control save, and we'll make sure that it is definitely there by going back into our test. And it'll take us straight to my channel. This is how you can kind of get links to look different, rather than having that entire thing, because I could realistically just go back in here and put that there. And then it looks horrible. You know, it's a bit full on. I mean, you know exactly where it is you're going because it's presented right here. But again, for user friendliness, keeping it simple. So you would just type in something like YouTube better. And then you'd come back into here and you'd go YouTube Wetok. And then you'd possibly have a list of other ones. So now that we've kind of covered links, if you have any questions or anything like that on links, just post a comment below and I'll respond to it. I don't expect you to get it straight away, but pretty much if you copy this identical, you can put whatever web address you want within these quotations. Make sure the quotations are definitely there, and you could put just about any website you want in there and you'll be able to get access to it. I say just about because, you know, there are certain websites you need special browsers for, etc., etc. So any standard website you'll be able to get to by just creating this sort of link. Now we are going to cover tables, and just like normal, we're going to create our open and close tags. There's our table. That's it, already done. But what we're going to do is table row. So the very first row on this table, table row close tag, we'll go start off to table row closed, and we'll jump in and we'll go table headline, yes, and we'll go name, ch, and we'll go channel name, age. We want to add some depth to it, don't we? th, we'll go YouTube channel. And then in here, so if we just quickly save that and we bring up our page, name, age, YouTube channel. Again, within the CSS part, that's where we're really going to dive deep into really covering that and separating it all with padding and that sort of stuff. Make it look quite nice. But now what we'll do is, so this is the table row, table headline. And now in the next row, so there's first table row, opened and closed, second table row, open and closed. We're going to go table data, so TD, table data, and we'll go my real name. Table data. I won't put my real age because I'm old. Yeah. We'll put 1000. TD. TD close. And then TD open. And we are going to put this in there. And then we'll close that. TD. Save. And now if we come here, name, age, YouTube channel. And from here, you could just continue to add stuff in. Now, a table is only going to really be used for static figures. What I mean by static figures is numbers that aren't going to change. So the number of car accidents that happened last month, that's not going to change, but that total number will stay static. Whereas you could have dynamic numbers, i.e. total car crashes this month. There is still days left, so it could change. And if it was going to be a dynamic number, typically you won't store it like this. You're going to reference or draw information from a database. And that's where you would use PHP and MySQL to grab that information and present it in a table format so that every time someone refreshes it, if data has been added to the database, it's going to grab that new data every single time this web page is opened. It's going to re-grab it and go, oh, yep, the number's changed, it's gone up, or it's gone down. Cars have miraculously fixed themselves. So, very basic to a table just here. Guys, can we go? Table. Good. Baseline. No, we want a border. 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 Accept it like that? No. However, if you're ever unsure, just do the same thing as me. Easy squeezy. So you can see how they've laid it out here as well in W3 Schools. So if you want to really dive deep, and always keep this as a reference, because you can see we did the exact same thing, table, open, closed, table row to first table row here and coming in. You can see they also use the same indentation coming in and out so that you can easily identify what goes where. So they've got 3 sections of data and they're using company, contract, country. Okay. Table cells, blah, blah, blah. What we want. They add a border to this one. They do. Table THTD. Ah, there it is. See? This bit here is what we're after. And we could just go of, and then we can come back to ours. And you add a border. You could change that border. You could make it, you know, dotted or anything like that. But, you know, again, that's going to be more further covered when we start to go into CSS and we really start to focus on the aesthetics. But always keep something like W3 Schools in your back pocket. There are plenty of learning sites out there. If you're learning Python. Called again. Called python.org. Yeah. Documentation. And this is where you're going to be able to learn a lot of deep parts of Python, as opposed to just going onto YouTube tutorials and that sort of stuff. Bagging myself out of it. The documentation can be a little bit more difficult to read through because you need to know exactly what it is that you're looking for. So, like my instance, I knew roughly what it was I was doing, what I was aiming for. However, I just needed to clear up exactly how to write it. It was table THTD, so I had to reference all 3. But I knew roughly what it was I was after doing. It just needed that little guide to push me into it. If you don't have any idea what it is that you're wanting to try and do, so you'd say, I'm wanting to try and make fireworks come out of the bottom of the screen, you don't know where to start that off, it's going to make it very difficult to look through documentation to find what it is you're after. But if that's what it is you are after, then, and you know roughly what it is, and it's going to be, you're probably going to be calling an MP4, possibly, or a GIF, then you know that you're going to be putting an image source, referencing a gift, a GIF, and then you're going to put its position down the bottom of the screen so that when the web page is refreshed, the GIF goes off and you can have it on repeat or single, whatever you want. But to get an idea as to that code, it would be quite simple to just go into W3 schools HTML. So what we're wanting is to put an image. So image source, you can see it's .jpeg. You'd put .gif, .png, whatever. But a GIF is going to be a moving image. So once you know what it is that you're after doing, and you know roughly what it is that's required, then it makes looking up the documentation much, much easier. So once you become confident with the coding, keeping these sorts of documents, these websites in your back pocket, always be able to reference quickly. You can store them offline. I did that for a while. Actually, I had a USB that I had a whole heap of, like, C#, Python, JavaScript, and a few other languages that I just had their offline documentation stored. But it's important to refresh that every now and then, especially once you know that updates have been made to it. You want to grab that new copy so that if you're ever working in an instance where you don't have internet access, you've got some sort of reference materials that you can look through to get whatever job it is that you're after doing. This was in the instance if you become a software engineer or something like that. But we've now extended our code out to 40 lines. So you can see how quickly it can grow, considering we started with 18, just by adding these very small pieces of information. We've managed to blow it out into something quite big. And you can see that it's separated here, but it wouldn't make a difference if we glued it all back together. It stays the exact same. So this is just kind of a, I don't know, or a more aesthetic part, but you can keep it all one solid line. And that's how in some of my suspicious link videos, you've seen the HTML code and it only takes 2 lines, but it just goes forever across the screen. Yeah, it's not appealing to always do it like that, but because this still fits on the same screen, it is just a single line of alteration to it, but you could change much, much more. And that's where you would start to come down and have multiple lines. So you go, okay, border is going to be 1 pixel, solid black. You could have dotted, dashed. You could have whatever you want. But then you can come further down and you can go color of it, border color, border thickness. You can change a whole heap of things, and each one of these will end with a semicolon, and you can just be adding them line after line going further down so that you can see, okay, so table THTD comes down, there's an indentation, so you know it's still part of table modifications, and you could just keep following that down until it's finished, and then it will alter the next bit. Links. Links are common on web pages, extremely common, so practice around with these and see what sort of changes you could make to them. There's not huge amount. You can make them huge. You can make it take up the entire screen if you wanted to. Just a big click here to go to the home page button. But they are extremely important and used quite frequently. So make sure you practice with these ones, and tables. Tables are going to be quite handy, especially when we were using the form before. We used table row and table data within a form. So getting familiar with the table will make working with forms a little bit easier. Getting used to links can make the form easier because that would all be part of the basic registration form. If you've already got an account, click here to log in. If you don't have an account, click here to register. So, yes, that's going to do it for this episode, everyone. Hope you've enjoyed and get excited for the next one. If you have any ideas as to what exactly within HTML you want me to cover, I plan on covering quite a bit, but if there's anything you want to see sooner, just leave a comment below and we can get straight into it. Yeah, so we'll go HTML first, then we'll do CSS. So by the time we finish this series, probably do one big episode at the end of it where I'll code up an entire website as to the scam website that we're after. So it'll have all of its information. It'll have effectively all the information, all the tables, forms, etc., etc. So I'll start getting the basic layout for all the multiple pages that we're going to be using. Then we'll move on to the series of CSS where we work on the aesthetics. And at the end of that, we'll do another big one where I work on the aesthetics to the whole page. and we start to make it look really presentable, really professional, then same with JavaScript. We'll move on to a JavaScript series. And at the end of that, we'll do another big episode where I will go through all the functionality of that website. And, we do all our form washing, input washing, that sort of stuff, all the forms. And then beyond that, we will be looking at PHP and MySQL. So we'll set up the database and the web server. We'll get all the files on the web server, make sure that all works. And then we'll find a way to be adding all that data to the database through the PHP and how to call upon it. So, yes, I'm thinking at that point, it's still a while down the road, but I'm thinking at that point, what we'll be looking at doing is having our chats. So the online chats will be stored in the database. So the, 10 women, when they're talking, they're going to have a whole heap of things that they can say, heaps of quotes, etc., etc. And then we'll put in there some basic communication parts. So roughly 2 to 3 messages before it just goes to go any further, you must sign up. So we'll go through common introductory lines. So if user says hi, respond with a message from the greetings. If user says, how you going? Respond with a, I'm good sort of thing from the list of I'm goods. And then beyond that, it's going to continue this conversation, you must sign up. So yes, that's what I'm thinking we can do. And that is a whole heap of if, else, through JavaScript. So yeah, plenty to cover, but we will eventually get there, me taking you along with me so that you can build it yourself. And we will build a full scam website. Whether we can make it go live or not, that's where I'll need to look into some of the legalities. But the aim of it will be just to educate people. So there will be no direct nudity, for obvious reasons, that we don't offend. We don't expose people, especially younger people, to things that they don't necessarily need to be exposed to. So it's going to be a relatively innocent website. It's more going to point out this was a scam, or could be a scam. You could have fallen for something significantly damaging if it weren't for the fact that we created this. So yes, any input that you'd like to have in this, let me know. Any of the potential live streams I do for the end of the series, I'll add names of viewers into the credits, which will be stored directly here. So yeah, stored directly on the page itself, so that if we do manage to get it to go live, you'll be able to show people, hey, I was involved in that, and you can have your name burnt into the code. So yes, until the next episode, peace.